My name is Jessie Ace. I'm part of a group of enabled warriors that you've probably never heard of. We're fighting back against our invisible illness and taking the dis out of disability. We don't give sympathy to our symptoms. They enable us to be the warrior that we are. If you ask doctors and nurses, they'd say what we're doing is impossible. But pushing the limits of our conditions is something that we have to break through every single day. So we push the limits. We are mentally strong, and we can do anything. The question is, how far can we push those limits? This podcast will give you the answers. I'm Jessie Ace, and this is the Disabled to Enabled podcast. Hi, Christy Kim. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So we've been delighted to be joined by Christy today, who is the Content Development Manager. Is that right?
Senior specialist.
Your official title?
Not quite manager.
Okay, so a little bit about Christy. She was mainly raised in around Chicago, Illinois, and she got into marketing because of her love for creativity and writing. She's also worked for the National MS Society since October 2015 and enjoys trying new hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. We're looking forward to hearing more about those.
Great.
So Christy, can you tell us something about you that people might not already know?
Man, I feel like I have not lived enough of an interesting life to say anything. Something that people may not know about me. No, I mean, I really love to travel. As you know, I just came back from Amsterdam not too long ago.
Yeah, I'm so jealous of you for going there.
Well, you live like 2 hours from there. I'm more jealous of you.
No, and I've never been. What's that about?
But something genuinely random that I don't think people know. Yesterday I was talking to someone. I kind of want to go to Greenland.
Oh, okay.
Like, do you know anyone that's ever been there?
Nope.
Exactly. So I'm just like, man, I need to go to Greenland. So like, that's something random. I have a bizarre aspiration to go to Greenland.
I love that. I love it.
Maybe it'll happen one day.
Maybe it'll happen one day. It will if you book it in.
Right? I saw some travel websites that do like group tours there. It's super expensive. Like the minimum was like $9,000 US. And I was like,
oh wow.
Like I don't have that right now. Just like to spend on a vacation.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Maybe in the future then. Maybe.
Tentative.
So you manage the blog content on the MS Connection org blog?
Yes.
So my words are coming out terrible today. I'm sorry.
So am mine.
So
no,
we like to ask deep questions here at Enabled Warriors. And so what do you feel is one of the biggest obstacles of providing relevant blog content that you've faced on your journey as a senior specialist of content development?
Right. That's a great question. I think definitely, if we're talking specifically about MS and managing the blog, getting a wider scope of voices, it's actually quite difficult. I think with MS specifically, the demographics of who gets affected is already so skewed to begin with, but it's really hard to get a wide variety of voices. Like, for example, we know that MS affects more women, so sometimes it's hard to find men who are willing to speak out, just from just a statistical point, but also just to ensure that you can balance perspectives is really important and quite tricky. Mm-hmm. So it's awesome when you have people who have a really positive attitude about living with MS, but sometimes it can read as maybe a little too fluffy for someone who may not be feeling that way in that moment in their journey with MS, which is okay. We all cope differently, but at the same time, you don't want something that's too dreary or hopeless, because the main message we want to get across is that no matter where you are in your journey, that there is hope, and then there are people around you who want to help you, who are there for you, who are willing to hold your hand and empathize with you or give you some great advice, and just, build a really strong community. So that's kind of the two main, issues that can kind of arise from just trying to get relevant blog content. It's just getting a wide variety of voices and just ensuring that you balance perspectives.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I do think that the MS Connection blog in general is very kind of positive kind of blog to be reading. I think it's amazing. Yeah, and I never thought of having that difficulty with getting men on the blog before.
Yeah, I
which
mean,
makes total sense, really.
yeah, it's just the way it's skewed, just who gets MS. It's like, I
Yeah.
feel like it's impossible. Obviously, we have some amazing male bloggers, and they have wonderful perspectives, but sometimes it's just like hard to catch them just because the majority of the time when I get forwarded stuff, it's just, you know, statistically it's going to be female, so it's kind of hard
Female,
to,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, we do rule
So,
the world. I mean, you know.
according to Beyonce, yes.
She might be right.
Yeah.
Can you share with us a top tip for people with MS or invisible illnesses in general about how they can feel empowered?
Right. Well, I personally do not live with MS, but in my position, I've talked to dozens and dozens of people living with MS. And I myself suffer from migraines often, and it's kind of hard to describe that to people and how that can kind of sideline you. But just from talking to others and what I've learned, I just feel like it's important to talk to people who are in similar situations as you. It can be very, very powerful. I totally understand if people don't want to talk about their invisible illnesses. That's totally okay, and I understand that. But I will say, just talking to as many people as I've talked to, just that empowerment of knowing that someone else is hearing your story, listening to your story, and more than anything can relate to your story can be really, really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really important thing to get across in like everything that we create and we send out as well is kind of trying to relate to everybody. It's quite hard to
Mm-hmm.
do. So tell us why you started being a senior specialist of content development for the MS Connection and the MS.
Well, I love to write, as you wrote in the, as you said in the beginning. I've been just doing like personal journaling since I was a kid, since I was like 7. So it's really fun to read back those journals. Embarrassing too, but that's okay. But I just wanted to write and do something creative, like marketing for a place with purpose. At the time, I just didn't find much fulfillment in writing for products I didn't care about or things that didn't interest me. I really love the mission of the National MS Society, and I really love how strong the community is. Just the MS community is just so uplifting and so educated and just so hopeful for a cure, and it's just been really, wonderful to be in that environment.
That's amazing. That's such a really lovely thing.
Yeah, and it's fun to connect with people like you who like live in the UK. Like I never thought I would get to, have bloggers that like not only are across the states but internationally, which is super fun.
Yeah.
So it's been great to meet people like you.
Oh, thank you. Do you find there's a lot of difference between the attitudes of people kind of all over the world almost? Or have you?
Attitudes, honestly, no. I just feel like as varied as MS is in each person, I just feel like everyone kind of has the same hope,
Yeah.
similar fears, a desire just to be heard and to feel like, you're not crazy. Because I can't tell you how many diagnosis stories I've gotten with people where doctors dismiss them as just being anxious or you have this going on, you're totally fine. So just like that validation to know that you're not alone and that it's, it might literally be in your head, but what you're,
Yeah.
what you're feeling is, actually real. I think it's pretty universal, actually.
It's very, very real. And it's so hard when it's invisible to everybody else but you. And it's like,
No, definitely.
what can I do to like tell you any more about this? It's
Right.
insane sometimes. So yeah, so going slightly in a different sort of direction. So we've had celebrities like Selma Blair recently come out and tell us about her MS story and things like that. And I know I wrote a blog for you on that. But how do you really feel about celebrities when they come out with an invisible illness? I mean, should the media be making such a big thing of it?
Mm-hmm.
Or should it be more of like a, affects everybody every day sort of thing? So.
I really do think it's great. I think anytime someone or something that's largely hidden comes out, it's really powerful and it can be really powerful. I don't necessarily think all celebrities have to seek to be role models or anything like that. You don't always sign up for that kind of role, but if you choose to use your platform to spread an empowering message, I think it's really wonderful. And I think it's a great way to open up dialogue with people who've been wanting to open up about something, but they just don't know how. A lot of people are just like, hey, like, here's a link to this interview of this person talking about this. I just want to let you know that, like, I want to talk to you about it too. But on the flip side of you saying, like, it's something that people deal with every day, blah, 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 I think we do sometimes sensationalize things in the media. So I just want to be careful that we don't ignore that, while actresses like Selma Blair are so brave and so wonderful for coming out and opening up about their struggles and, you know, being in that line of judgment, because I'm sure lots of people are going to judge her. You just don't want to
Absolutely.
define them by this big news. She's an amazing actress. She's going to continue to be an amazing actress, and it's important to
Yeah.
always have that be the focal point, as her talent and her perseverance, and not make it all about her MS. So I just hope that, you know, that's always in focus, and that she doesn't just become like the poster child for MS. But that,
Yeah.
like, she's
Yeah.
an actress, an amazing actress, an amazing mother, and she just happens to have MS, and she's going to speak out about it. So
Yeah, I totally agree with you that I really, really hope that she won't just kind of be labelled with MS now and that's kind of it, because like you say, she is a really, really good actress. So
love her in so many films.
you're a big fan.
So good.
Oh, that's so nice. Okay, so for someone who is watching or listening right now, why do you think people give up on the idea of doing things they always wanted to do after they get diagnosed? Because, and just to kind of put this in a little bit of context, because that question's kind of come out of nowhere. So I went into a few Facebook groups, MS Facebook groups, and I said, like, what's the one thing that you've always wanted to do, but you've never really done it? And people said quite a lot of different things. You know, they were like, oh, I want to fly a plane, I want to go to salsa lessons, I want to go surfing. So I messaged each one of them and I said, well, what's the one thing stopping you from actually doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And most of the things that they said were kind of MS kind of symptoms. It was like, oh, I've got numbness in my legs, so I can't do that. I've got this, I can't remember things or whatever. And that's the kind of mindset that I really want to change in the MS community, because we can do things and we've just got to be slightly creative in the way that we do them. That's all. But yeah, I mean, why do you think that happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely touched upon that, and just with the conversations I've had with people, I think it's really hard to let go of the idea of the life you thought you would have and how you thought life would turn out, and to just think that maybe like it's all for waste because now you're thinking of the worst case scenario that you're going to end up in a wheelchair or something. But yeah, I definitely think just letting go of that idea, which it's not even just like MS focused. I think a lot of us have to do that because you never know how life is going to turn out. You know, it might not be something
That's so
as
true.
major or as impactful as, you know, a chronic illness, but I mean, no one can really say that, and it's a lot easier said than done to like not have that worry constantly in your head of like, the worst case scenario. But I've really learned, and it's something I'm trying to get better at, is you know, worrying doesn't really fix anything. Even if the worst case scenario happens, all that time you spent worrying doesn't help you cope with it any better, and obviously didn't stop anything from happening. So
That's it.
yeah, so I think when you think you're limited now, it's just it's not reality. You just have to do it differently, like you said. You have to be a little bit more creative. And to me, I always think about like Paralympic athletes. You know, obviously they have to do things a little bit different, but it's something that you can still overcome. And they've trained hard, and maybe they've made adjustments in how they train, but they're still incredible world-class athletes, and they can outrun all of us. So
Exactly.
you know, that tells you something that you know, maybe you won't fulfill what you had in your head for how your life would turn out exactly to the T. But I don't really know anyone who looks back on their life and they're like, yeah, it's exactly how it, you know, I envisioned it. So you just have to make adjustments like you do any time in life when something different
Yeah,
enters.
totally. And I think that's what it comes down to, is just making adjustments and finding a way to move forward from that, really.
For sure, and you've had to do that too, like just reading your blogs, you know, you had certain visions, but you've just made adjustments, and I'm sure you can say that it's different, but it's not worse, and you could probably even say that it's better than how you thought it would end up, your career and
Definitely,
where
yeah.
it's headed. So, you know, doing a
Yeah.
lot of this outreach, you probably would have never done it.
No, exactly. And I think this is the thing that I kind of say like all the time on Facebook Live videos and things, is that I feel like MS was like the best blessing that I could have ever been given, because it's enabled me to see the world differently and appreciate everything and just kind of appreciate what I can do on the good days, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I
that's
think,
something. Yeah, go on.
no, carry on, it's fine.
No, I was just saying that that's something I've asked not a lot of people, but some people, if I have definitely have a good relationship with them, and if we're just getting really honest, and you know, I've asked them like if you could, you know, get rid of your MS, would you? And obviously, like the resounding answer is yes for very obvious reasons. But at
Yeah.
the same time, they kind of say like I've gotten mixed feedback because I've also heard from people, you know, if I could go back in time and you told me I would have never gotten MS, and like the lessons I learned from it would have been gone, they kind of say no, because they learned some really amazing lessons that sometimes it takes people, an entire lifetime to learn or never learn.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, like what you were just saying right there. It's like you've just learned some things, and you've gotten, you've grown as a person that you would probably never had without learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing. It is amazing. So, okay, this is the last question of today. Now, this is a kind of a big question in many ways. And so how do you feel about how disability is viewed by the general public, and how can we change those perceptions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think perceptions of disability have gotten better as the years have gone on. For sure, like more visibility in popular culture and social media has certainly helped with that. I think in the past, and absolutely still now, there's this kind of you poor thing mentality that's really kind of condescending. And it's not to discount that, yeah, obviously it can be difficult to live with a disability in a world that doesn't often make accommodations for differences that we all have. But at the same time, there's no need to think that someone is less than for having disability. And I definitely think with more people being vocal and you doing stuff like this really helps raise awareness. So definitely think more awareness will help kind of take away maybe any negative perceptions people may have of disability. And I know you've written about that with your blog, with like disabled parking signs.
Oh, don't get me started on parking.
Yeah, and the negative perceptions you've got from that. So I mean, I know it's a struggle. It sucks.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah. I really just hate the word disability, just straight off there, because it's like disability as in kind of lack of ability, and I'm like, I don't have a lack of ability, I'm just more creative in what I do. Like I don't
I've never thought about that.
being, like the actual term disabled really, really annoys me, because I'm kind of like, I don't lack in being abled, I'm just like I say, more creative in how I do it.
Right.
So, and I think invisible illness is kind of not portrayed in the way that it maybe should do, because obviously, like with the whole disability kind of thing, you've got this icon of a wheelchair for a start.
Right.
And there are a lot of people that are classed as disabled but don't have a wheelchair. So obviously, like the general public don't really understand why you can park in a handicapped space and then get out and walk away. So I don't think it's something that we can be mad at for other people, for when they judge us for using our handicapped spaces. But I do think there should be more education to the non invisible illness sort of community.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think definitely talking to, reading articles that you've like written and talking to other people, that's definitely something that I've become much more aware of and educated on, especially like, I think like on a train, it's like easy to kind of like when you see a young person and just be like why aren't they getting up for this person? Like why are they so young? I always keep it in the back of my head now that, I've talked to people like you who've educated me on this kind of stuff, and just be like, I don't know what their day is. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know if they just went through a car accident and they can't stand up for periods of time. I don't know if they live with MS and are feeling very fatigued, so I push those thoughts out of my mind now. And it's I think in our brain, it's like easy to be conditioned because all we see is that wheelchair. So it's been really enlightening for me to, reverse that conditioning and say like, I don't know what's going on in their head. I don't know what's going on in their body. I don't know how they feel. So that's definitely something I've learned from you and like a lot of other bloggers to kind of get rid of that stigma in my mind.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I wish that more people had that view as well. And it's how can we get that message out to the general public? That's kind of like, I suppose, my big mission in a way, is just like trying to change.
No, and that's honestly a really good one, because had I not worked this job, I really can't say I would have like 100% thought about it that deeply until it would have affected me personally on a personal level. So I definitely think it's worth it to get that message out there and try to say it more often, because I really can attest and say that before having this job, I don't think it was something I thought about that deeply. Obviously, it wasn't like an enraged reaction or something, but just something you never think about when you see, you know, a young person, to say you just don't think about it. And like an invisible illness, you never think about those things. So definitely
No,
important to get the
exactly.
message out there.
I mean, until I was diagnosed with MS, like that had never even crossed my mind.
Exactly, right?
So
you just don't think
it's
about
like,
it.
just you don't. And why would you? Like,
Yeah, not really prevalent.
like you say, on a personal level, then there's kind of no reason to go and learn about it, which is the big thing. Okay, so are you ready for some super quick secrets round?
Yes.
Fabulous. Okay, so this is the part of the show, Enabled Warriors, where we find out a little bit more about the personality of our guest with some super quick secrets. I love this section. This is amazing. Okay, so most inspiring book you've ever read? Go.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I read a book a while ago called Just Mercy, and it's on America's criminal and prison systems. Ooh. It's a really heavy topic, but there's a really wonderful message of redemption in it, and it brought me to tears on the train, the public transit here, and I like wipe away tears really quickly, so people don't have to see me cry.
That's awesome. Any book that brings you to tears is obviously a good book.
Yeah, it really is. There's some really beautiful poems in there. Prisoners, and it's just like makes you cry.
Wow. So what was that called again?
Just Mercy.
Just Mercy. I'm gonna have a look at that after this.
No, yeah, it's really interesting because when I was reading it, again, strangely, things pop up like this. There's actually like 2 or 3 prisoners there who actually live with MS. Like,
really?
He talks about people that he's represented or about to represent. They live with MS, and one of them wrote this like really touching poem, and I was just like a baby on the train.
Oh gosh.
Good tears though, like tears of hope, and it was a definitely inspiring book.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, next secret. What is the biggest tip that you can give someone with an invisible illness?
Take time for yourself and don't feel guilty if you have to listen to your body.
Great answer. I totally agree as well. Favorite state that you've ever visited, or country?
Oh, well, state, the weather in California is pretty perfect.
Oh,
I would say. I mean, it's like perpetually, sunny and bright there. But actually, I really enjoyed the Netherlands, actually. Shout out to the Netherlands. It was actually a really beautiful place, like, and just like the fields of flowers during like tulip season. It's really beautiful. So it's actually creeping up towards the top of my list. It's really beautiful there.
Oh, go Netherlands.
Shout out to Netherlands.
That's amazing. So what is your connection to MS? Like, do you know anybody else with it? Or?
Yeah, so I work for the MS Society, as Jess said, but I didn't have a personal connection, but since then I've just found it's weird. Like, once you are connected to this kind of work and this and to MS, you just find that like people in your life have it or like are connected to it. You just never knew it before. You just become more cognizant of it. So I've had like old friends, pop up on Facebook saying like, hey, I live with MS, friends of friends. People just randomly, like, I remember I went to like a gym and this girl was talking about how she's going to move to Minnesota because her mom lives with MS, and I was like, okay. Like, wow. It's random. It's random. You notice it more. Yeah, it's strange. I had many more connections than I thought or knew. So
that's awesome. Do you find as well that as soon as you find somebody with MS or know somebody with MS, it's always like a really long trail of people that they know? It's like, oh yeah, my sister's cousins,
right,
brothers. You're like, what? Okay.
Sure, like I got that somehow. Yeah, no, you're right. No, for sure. It's interesting.
So weird.
Like, you just know when someone points something out, you notice it more. It's kind of like that. I'm just like, wow, I'm a lot more connected to the cause than I originally thought.
Yeah. And you realize how many more people have a connection to it as well, which is like phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I mean, statistically, we just came out with that new study, the 1 million. I mean, in just the US alone. I mean, there you go. Your odds are pretty good. So
that's insane. Okay, I'm really not very good at these quick round questions because I just want to chat all day. Dog person or cat person?
Cat person. My sister has a cat. I'm obsessed with it. I know. I love cat. I love dogs too, but if I had to pick, I love cats. I do. They're so fluffy and they meow. I love it.
Fair enough. I'll let you off on that one. What is your favorite hobby?
I just love lounging around and watching really really bad, awful reality TV.
That's an awesome hobby.
I really love to do that, but also just so I don't come off like like a bum. I also really enjoy cooking. I love playing the piano, going for walks, and like we said earlier, just trying new hobbies and trying new things. Because I feel like when we're adults, beyond our jobs, we don't really try new things and extend ourselves.
No,
And
that's true.
so it's really fun to try that. So.
Oh, fabulous. I love that. That's amazing. So where can warriors find out more about you and what you do?
Well, I manage the blog, but anyone can follow me on Instagram at CLHKAYY and talk to me.
Fabulous. And just the can you give us the name of the blog again?
msconnection.org/blog.
It's msconnection.org, everybody.
Yep, Jess writes for us. It's really wonderful. Lots of great.
You can also follow me on msconnection.org.
Yep. Do it. She's awesome.
Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, so finally, if you had one piece of advice for enabled warriors out there, what would it be? And I've realized I've actually asked you that twice already.
Well, but if I'm speaking specifically to this enabled warriors community, I would definitely say be active in this community.
Yeah,
She's just a wonderful person who facilitates great discussions with everyone like me, and speak to each other. You'd be really surprised if you're thinking something, someone else is probably thinking it too. So just be really active and
totally.
Keep this kind of community alive and vibrant, because like we were talking earlier about the whole perceptions of what invisible illness is. We need lots of people to understand that. So, and the only way you can do it is through communities like this that can speak out. So,
absolutely true. Warriors have got to stick together.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Christy. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you as a guest today. I'm so happy that you're here. And you connect with Christy through the MS Connection blog, everybody. That's msconnection.org. And do you want to give your Instagram handle again?
Sure, it's CLHKAYY.
There we go. So go and follow Christy, everybody. And remember, everybody, stay enabled. Okay, see you later, Christy. Bye.
Bye.
If you want to fight back against your invisible illness and help take the dis out of disability, then join the tribe on Facebook, facebook.com/enabled warriors. If you love this podcast, click that subscribe button and never miss another episode. And remember, warriors, stay enabled.